If you're a nerd like me, you might have heard of Dante's Inferno. It tells the journey of one man's descent through hell, imagined as 9 circular realms of torment. Each circle is dedicated to a different type of sin, where wrongdoers are punished for all eternity. As Dante traverses these realms, he witnesses horrific torments, cruel demons, and abominable monsters. Hope that sounds fun, because today, we're all going to hell together. This is Molag Bal's Inferno. In other words, it's a fan-made Skyrim DLC, themed after Dante's Inferno, where you travel into hell and tackle 7 dungeons, each corresponding to one of Dante's circles. Each dungeon was made by a different person, so you're never sure what you're gonna get when entering a realm for the first time. Altogether, it makes this DLC feel like an utter fever dream. So here's how it works. To start, we need to venture into the mountains west of Solitude to find our portal to hell. Here, we also meet Virilia. She's gonna be our tour guide through the underworld, and will unravel the mystery of her backstory as we progress. She reactivates this ancient daedric gate, and down we go. This is Limbo, the outermost region of hell. Per Dante's Inferno, Limbo is a place reserved for people who weren't evil, but weren't great either, just kinda mid. Here in Skyrim, it's the hub world for this DLC. Here we find a few NPCs, a merchant who trades stuff for lost souls, and of course, the gateways to each of the other circles. Our goal is to venture down through each circle of hell. Each circle is its own mini dungeon with a boss fight at the end. Defeat the boss, and you get a greater lost soul, which can be used to unlock the portal to the next circle. Between circles, we're free to explore Limbo, and trade in the souls we've collected from lower-level enemies to get potions or unique gear. Once we've conquered each layer of the Inferno, we'll enter the arena in the lowest reaches of hell for an epic final boss fight. If we win, we become Molag Bal's own champion, and we get to brag that we've literally been through hell and back. First, we have to cross the Acheron River to get to Limbo. Our skeletal mate Kiran ferries us across. Apparently the waters are deadly, so no going swimming today. Once there, Virilia gives us the rundown. 7 circles, 7 boss souls, and then we can challenge Hell's champion. She's gonna come with us on our journey too. These demons will be no match for the both of us. Mirroring Dante's own journey, the first circle we'll be tackling is the Circle of Lust. Let's hope it's YouTube friendly. But real quick, if you're a Skyrim modder and want to help support the channel, I've got great news for you. We're assembling a team to develop brand new mods to feature on the channel. More wild stuff, like Skyrim Badly Translated, or a Skyrim racing game. You can earn bounties for completing mods, and earn more as the channel grows. If you're interested in joining up, drop by the Discord server. Links in the description. So back to the Circle of Lust. The portal drops us in a bedroom, and now we get a glimpse of Virilia's own personal torment. Turns out she was some sort of military commander, and having a secret relationship with one of her subordinates. We first see them happy together, but then the scene changes to the aftermath of a battle. Her lover is now dead, and Virilia mourns that she'd given the command that led to his death. As Virilia's forced to relive her failure, we march onwards to the realm of Lust. Now, Lust is a weird place. We first find ourselves in some sort of underground nightclub. Well, it's obviously some other type of club, but we'll just call it a nightclub. Everyone here is really excited to see us. Apparently they don't get many living types down here. We pick up some healing potions, but then the real games begin when we try to get through this door.
What do we have here? Aren't you just a vision of loveliness? I want to touch you, devour you.
The door unlocks, and we're sent into a labyrinth of traps and enemies. Now we have to race to the end of the maze to find and kill Lust, the big boss for this dungeon. And this maze is just as wacky and weird as the nightclub. It's like a neon fever dream, plus demons, and they're all trying to kill you. These little imp guys aren't especially strong, but there are a lot of them, and they get in the way easily. It seems like the poorly lit labyrinth of tunnels will never end.
Oh, time is running out for you, I'm afraid.
But at last, we find the back room where Lust is waiting for us. Now for a real fight. Unfortunately, Virilia's locked out of the room, so we're gonna have to handle this one by ourselves. First, Lust sends his minions at us, while he says some gross stuff about writhing. We've dealt with plenty of these imps by now. Our battle axe is enough to handle them. But Lust himself is a different story. He's a powerful Atronach with a body of stone and lightning magic in his arsenal. He teleports around the room too, which makes his lightning bolts all the more dangerous. Good thing we found those healing potions at the start of the dungeon. We need to use several of them to stay alive while we keep hacking away at his health. He summons more minions, but we ignore them for now. Gotta focus on the leader. After a barrage of axe swings, we finally take Lust down. The door unlocks so that Virilia can get into the room, and together, we finish off the remaining imps. That's one circle boss defeated, and a boss soul added to our inventory. With it, we can descend deeper into hell. But first, we're heading back to Limbo.
My realm is disturbed. Mortal, what right do you have to be in my domain? This realm could use a fresh challenger. Prove your worth to me. Become my champion.
Challenge accepted. Now let's talk about money, or rather, Hell's version of it. Instead of using gold, people here trade in lost souls. We get souls for killing generic enemies. To find out what we can do with them, let's pay a visit to Hell's resident merchant to find out.
Potions and unique artifacts. Don't ask me where they come from. If you've got souls, I've got wares.
There's some pretty cool potions here, like the Burning Rush potion, which causes gradual damage to ourself, but sharply increases our damage dealt. There's also Power Overwhelming, which increases our weapon attack speed and damage, but only if our magicka remains full. And last, there's Phoenix Down, a potion that restores you to full health the next time an attack leaves you below 20% without outright killing you. I like the sound of that one, so I grab one Phoenix Down, one Power Overwhelming, and one basic healing potion. Then we're off to our next realm of misery and torment. So the next realm on our dive is the Circle of Greed, and almost immediately upon entering, we find ourselves trapped in a cage. Apparently, greedy people get tortured by being locked up just out of reach of great treasures. Makes sense to me, but we've got to get out of here. By doing the opposite of the greedy thing, and giving gold to this beggar,
Finally, now get lost.
we're freed from the trap, but now have to fight these coin guards. Coin guards are the main type of enemy fodder in this circle, so you'll be seeing them a lot. One of the main themes with the Circle of Greed is that good stuff costs money, but most rooms have traps that make you lose money.
It seems that you don't have the sum you ought to have.
Plus, I didn't bring much money into Hell in the first place, so now I'm just plain broke. This means we can't bribe any of the NPCs to help, and we'll just be fighting our way through swarms of guards to progress. Most of the rooms are some sort of treasure-themed puzzle where you've got to deal with enemies while trying to solve it. We've got an ice spell called Frost Nova that's a big help here. It deals a blast of frost damage in a circle around the caster, and does more damage the closer the enemy is. And then there's this room. Welcome to Skyrim Platformer Edition, the genre crossover no one asked for. We've got to jump from platform to maneuver around the room, while not dying to these coin guard archers trying to snipe us. Oh, and a lot of the floating platforms are actually fake. You'll just fall to your doom if you jump on them. Yeah, this room was designed by a sadist. It took me way too long to find all the right paths, and retrieve the coins we're supposed to get. At the end of each path, you get locked in a cage match against a treasure guardian. Once we've finally collected the last piece of treasure from this masochistic Mario ROM hack level, we're teleported onwards to the next chamber. Good riddance. The rest of the circle is pretty much a gauntlet of enemy fights. We've got more skellies, some warriors, and then weird nightmare monsters to kill. Virilia's a pretty big help here. Surely she doesn't deserve for us to mercilessly betray her later. Then we come to what I thought was the circle boss, but is actually just a mini-boss, the Golden Spriggan. We're given the option of either making a sacrifice of gold to the idol or fighting it, and since I'm completely broke, we've got only one option. Now for a mini-boss, this guy is crazy tough. He'll shoot magic bolts, trap you in a cage of nettles, and can teleport around the map. Pretty much every time we try to take a straight shot at him, he traps us in his nettle cage again. Finally, I realized that it's way more effective to just stay out of the way and let Virilia do the hard work. But then there's the cloning phase, where he summons copies of himself and starts blowing up the entire arena. This part of the fight is absolutely brutal. Good thing I've leveled up Restoration, or we'd be mega dead. But the clones disappear after a bit, leaving just the three of us in the ring once again. And after what feels like an hour, Virilia finishes hacking the Spriggan to bits, and we take its figurine. But there's still 2 more mini-bosses before we reach the end of the circle. Yeah, this dungeon's really long. The next one's this massive spider, and again, we could potentially avoid fighting it if we weren't broke. Pay to win game. This guy spawns a ton of little spiderlings, but overall isn't as bad as the Spriggan. Next we have a hallway fight versus some golden mage dudes. I think it's supposed to be a hard fight, but their AI is pretty bad. and we can just kill them by knocking them down into the lava below. I don't even know how that last one died. We climb a nice staircase and reach the doorway to the inner sanctum of greed. But if you thought the inner sanctum would surely house the final boss, you'd be wrong, because this is just where we fight the third mini-boss. The golden dragon is excruciatingly deadly, and as if he weren't enough on his own, 4 coin guard archers shoot us from pillars around the arena, and for some reason, they're invincible. After we finally kill it, or rather, after mainly Virilia kills it, we're all set to head into the Nexus of Greed itself, where the true final boss of this circle resides. And the boss is none other than Greed himself. He's got minions, a teleport ability, the power to call down meteors. I mean, what else could you want from a final boss? Aside from, the fight actually being possible, yeah, this boss is crazy overpowered, even for high-level characters, and tons of people complain about it. So, I'm not gonna lie, I had to use console commands just to get through this fight. So after hacking our way through waves of minions and fighting through a blinding Inferno, we cast one more frost spell that cuts his health down to 0, and Greed is finally defeated. Oh, and apparently Greed was actually Darth Vader? I'm not sure what the lore is trying to tell us here. But we're moving on, back to Limbo, and onto our third circle, and that's gonna be the Circle of Anger. When we step through the portal, we enter another Virilia flashback. This time, we see her old home and her sister. We learn that after Virilia went off to be a soldier, a group of deserters paid a visit to her sister, and, well, they weren't nice to her to say the least. In fact, they ended up murdering her, which is generally frowned upon. Virilia feels like this was her fault for leaving her sister unprotected, and that's why she ended up selling her soul to Molag Bal. She did it for the power to find those deserters and seek vengeance, but we'll learn more about that later. For now, we're continuing down into the Circle of Anger. This realm is one of my favorites. It's primarily made up of puzzles, where we have to activate angel statues by moving light to them from another source. For this first room, we can't get through the creepy skull gate until we've activated all the statues in the area. We can absorb the light from the statues in the middle, then ferry it over to one of the unactivated statues. But when we get close, the souls imprisoned here attack us, and we've got to fight our way to the angel. We imbue it with light, and now we've got a nice Statue of Liberty brightening up the scene. Repeat this for each of the unlit statues in the courtyard, killing the enemies that get in our way. Then the light dispels the curse on the gate, so we can continue deeper into the Circle of Anger. The next room uses this same concept, but it expands it to a more difficult puzzle. First, we've got to transfer the light from a statue by the entrance to one near the middle, which activates a bridge. This room also throws a bunch more enemies at us, but they're not too hard to deal with. The trickier part is figuring out the next puzzle. We need to activate switches in the correct order to unlock cages containing the next angel statues. Doing so also draws the ire of a group of trolls who do not go down easily. These guys are massive damage sponges. Eventually, I kinda just give up on killing them and focus on the puzzle instead. Unlocking all the cages lets us ignite each of the remaining statues, and with that, the next gate is dispelled. The next room is the last, and we're really turning up the heat. We've got bigger bad guys to fight, and more angels to activate. But once we've killed the enemies, the paths are pretty clear for us to ferry the light where we need it to go. So as our Lady Liberties beam their light through the final gate, we enter the Arena of Anger. This time, we're not fighting anger itself, but one of the horsemen of the apocalypse instead. The rider's actually not that hard to kill, but his fiery steed is super tanky. He refuses to let me ride him even after I ask politely, and so it's murder time instead. Close your eyes, PETA. We slay the evil steed, and his boss soul is ours. Yeah, that's right. The horse was the real boss, not the rider. So, with all that accomplished, let's get out of this literal hellhole and on to our next one. And that's gonna be the Circle of Heresy. The Circle of Heresy is a total banger. It's got some of the coolest dungeon work I've ever seen, and genuinely hellish enemies. First, we've got to trek across the Blighted Wasteland, killing these weird soul wraith things. Then we find a river of fire, beside which a once great warrior lies dead. He's got some pretty sweet armor, including an ebony helmet that lets us breathe underwater. We're gonna take all his stuff and change into his armor for a big upgrade. We kill more slimy soul snakes, now in our new armor, then approach the gates of Castle Heresy, and unfortunately, we spot a dragon. Let's not go that way just yet. There's another path we can take across a skeletal bridge, past this very lifelike dragon statue. This path brings us into combat with a group of mutilated, multi-headed abominations. These guys are walking nightmares. Very cool enemy design. There are different abominations for different magic types, plus these giant melee ones. We'll be seeing more of these later. Then we've got a mini boss fight against this Atronach made of severed body parts. He's got quite a few heads going on, but they do say 2 heads are better than 1, so maybe 4 heads are also better than 3. Then we enter the Sinner's Chapel, where we've got to sacrifice our blood to get in. There are more abominations here and some nice looking architecture. It's almost enough to take your mind off the petrified bodies trying to claw their way out of the walls. Yeah, this place is nightmare fuel. As we near the end of the chapel, we find a tablet warning us that we approach the lair of the lost sinner. After making another blood sacrifice, while Virilia runs around like a headless chicken, the way is opened for our next boss fight. Ooh, yeah, that guy looks like trouble. The lost sinner is actually not the final boss, but he is a tough fight nonetheless. We're gonna stay back and let Virilia get in most of the damage. The room starts collapsing around us, with fiery rubble raining from the ceiling. Even after Virilia gets the kill, the roof continues to fall, so we've got to stay alive while searching the room for whatever it was we needed to get. But I don't find any keys and the boss's inventory is empty. So, a bit confused, we head back out towards the castle we came across earlier. It turns out that the path to the castle was actually blocked to us before, but now that we've killed the lost sinner, we can proceed. So that worked out well, but now we've got to fight a dragon. Actually, scratch that. We've got to fight 3. Let's give these names a shot. We've got Alakvim, Vingvolum, and Vazri, something like that. Their breath's pretty weak, and Virilia helps keep them distracted, while we focus on more of the Titan abominations who join the fight. And we've got another flame abomination to deal with too, but after chipping through their HP, mainly with frost spells, the path is clear for us to continue onwards, all the way up to the fiery gates of Sinner's Rise. Now this is the real dungeon. We've got to hack our way down the hall through a mob of monsters, then make another blood sacrifice in front of the magma pool. My hand's got to look like Swiss cheese by now. Then it's on to our next to last fight against a trio of Naiad mothers. And, yeah, I don't think this fight is very YouTube friendly. The Naiad mothers are basically naked women floating around the room casting spells. So, let's just skip ahead to what happens afterwards. This is Alanor the Heretic. He's the final boss of the Circle of Heresy, and we've got to kill him to take his boss' soul. Alanor's main tactic is to charge into melee, swinging his arms wildly and hurling fireballs. He's also obviously humongous, which can make it hard to dodge him. We let Virilia draw the aggression as usual, while we attack him with ice magic. She does a real good job tanking his swipes. All things considered, Alanor is one of the easier boss fights we've had so far in Hell. We've only got 3 more layers of Hell to get through before we can enter the arena at Hell's core and fight for the title of Molag Bal's champion. When we enter the gates to the Circle of Violence, we're dropped into another flashback. This time, we see Virilia's fateful transaction. She sells her soul to Molag Bal in exchange for the power to kill the deserters who murdered her sister. Then we see her at the deserters' home village, where she mercilessly slaughters innocents in pursuit of her personal vengeance. Present-day Virilia tries to kill her past self to stop it from happening, but the scene just repeats itself on a loop until she surrenders, helplessly watching the atrocities from afar. Now that Virilia's thoroughly miserable, we're ready to head into the Circle of Violence. Now, this realm is honestly a bit of a meme. We're dropped into a blazing, war-torn version of Whiterun, where we fight a number of familiar characters as we explore the town. We just need to make our way up to Dragon's Reach and enter the palace, which is flooded in a bloody glow. There, we fight our final boss, Nazim, because what trip to Whiterun is complete without killing him? Nazim's actually a bit tough, so we need to dip into our potion supply. But with healing to keep us alive, he dies pretty quick to an explosion of our frost magic. Definitely not worthy of being a boss, but hey, we got another greater soul. And with that, we're moving on to the Circle of Fraud. If anything, this is where Nazim should have been, but our arrival here is a bit too late, as it looks like we missed a good party. There's a temple up ahead, but the gates are locked, so we're gonna do what any guest arriving late to the party would and sneak in via the well. But it turns out some dead dudes had the same idea. We've got to hack our way through these other party crashers as we navigate the tunnels. Out of the way, Draugr. No one's gonna stand between us and Hell's hottest party. When it looks like we found a cool magical mace, it turns out to be a trap, and the room around us comes alive. Rather than mess with a dozen zombies at once, we opt for Plan B and jump into this hole. Because when is that ever not a good idea? Down here, we find another set of subterranean rooms with more Draugr. But it turns out that we made the right choice, because we soon reach the doors up into the temple itself. Let's hope this party is worth the trouble of getting in. The next room we enter is completely flooded. Good thing we got that ebony helmet of water breathing. This brings us to the lair of the circle boss. First, we gotta face down the gargoyles that spring to life when we enter the room. A big Frost Nova spell does the trick nicely. Then, what seems like a child turns into, well, not a child. This is the depraved one, this circle's big bad. We're gonna break out a potion of Overwhelming, which enhances our weapon attack speed and damage as long as our magicka remains full. It lets us get in some good swings, but then the depraved one clones himself. Now we've got 3 to deal with. Each of the clones uses a different type of magic, and unfortunately, the lightning damages our magicka, so Potion of Overwhelming will no longer work. This one's gonna take a few tries. On attempt number 2, we go for an all-out blitz and try to kill him before he clones. So close. On the 3rd try, he seems to forget how to fight and doesn't attack us, so that gets an easy win. A bit anticlimactic, but whatever. We've got bigger fish to fry. Or so I think. Okay. Face toe! Yeah, so apparently the fight's not done yet. This time, he's giant, and so is his flame cloak. We could probably run away like a coward, stand in the smaller room outside and beam him with ice magic. But I'm gonna be a brave boy and stand my ground. Also, because he's so tall, it seems like the hitbox on his flame cloak is too high up to damage us. This fight doesn't actually end up being that difficult, and now we can claim our boss soul for real. When we leave the temple, we're attacked by 3 undead dragons. But since we've already got our boss soul, we're just gonna nope out. It's back to Limbo, then onwards to our final circle. First, we're gonna restock on healing potions, and then we reactivate the gate to the Circle of Treachery. We arrive in the middle of a tempest, and this circle's got a pretty unique atmosphere. Unlike the other circles and their weird soul cairn vibes, this one's more of a shipwreck coastline. After Virilia rudely talks over the lore dump, the weather clears up, leaving the world in an eerie blue glow. The path looks to be leading to the shipwreck atop the plateau, where we'll probably have to fight another demon. But the enemies we fight along the way are pretty wimpy, so maybe this circle won't be that bad. We follow a candlelit path up to the shipwreck, and this is where we fight the captain. After he re-summons the Tempest, and the storm starts tearing the ship apart, this Draugr boss charges at us with his battle axe, but he takes good damage from our Frost Novas, and inevitably falls to our superior axe-swinging skills. We loot a pile of gold, and the captain's daedric battle axe, but the ship's still at risk of being utterly obliterated by the storm, and we still don't have our greater lost soul. So we run headlong into the still burning ship. The cargo hold is ablaze, and we need to navigate the fire and burning debris to cross the room. There's a locked gate in front of us, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the captain reappears behind us. I would say, time for round 2, but he's gonna be dead by the time I finish this sentence. Easy fight. Now we've got his soul and are ready to return to Limbo. Now that we've defeated the bosses of all 7 circles, we can finally gain access to Hell's Core and fight to become Molag Bal's champion. After paying one final trip to the merchant and stocking up on Phoenix Down revival potions, we're ready to enter the finale of this DLC.
You have succeeded, challenger. But before you face my old champion, you have one final task. Strike down Virilia, absorb her soul to empower you for eternity, and feel what it is like to be divine.
Sure thing, boss. Then it's time to meet our final boss, the reigning champion of the Inferno, Dante. You better strap in, because this is going to be a long fight.
I kill you, and when you die, your soul is bound to whatever divine you swore it to. Or you kill me, and when you die, your soul is damned to this Inferno, to rule it.
Ooh yeah, let's take that option. Time to dance. Dante's got some pretty cool daedric gear and is skilled in melee, but we have Frost Nova. Seems like he can't stand the cold. We're doing good damage, and it looks like this might be a really easy final boss. But Dante gets right back up.
Did you really think it would be that easy?
He pulls us into another space, within Hell's very center, and this is Dante's true arena. He charges us with his greatsword, so we set up our Frost Nova again. As we carefully dance out of his reach, a stream of lightning streaks across the arena, splitting it in 2. Our continued Frost Onslaught takes him down once again. But as you've probably figured out, there's gonna be another phase. This time, lightning streams down from above and spawns a wicked skeletal elemental. He's gonna shoot us with lightning, so we're gonna charge into melee. After about 10 seconds of constant battle axe onslaught, we fell the elemental. But there's more where that came from. 2 more, in fact. We need to fell 2 more bone storms, and then the sky clears above us, and we can proceed. Up the staircase, we hop into a glowing blue orb and get metroed over to the next station.
You remind me of myself, when I still had hope.
Now the fight continues against more of Dante's minions, and this time, they're fiery warlocks. And again, we've got to beat 3 of them. They do make some funny sounds when they die, though. The second fire dude spawns, and the gargoyles are now spouting jets of flame. You know, just in case this wasn't infernal enough already. But then Dante decides now is a good time to attack us again. Not fair, dude, we're busy. We're gonna dip into our potions now, and remember, we've got a bunch of Phoenix down that can revive us from near-death hits. These are gonna be key for surviving later. We decide to ignore the warlock and focus on Dante. Maybe if we can kill him now, the fight'll be over. And while that did end this phase of the fight, and we no longer need to kill the warlocks, Dante's still not done with us yet. We duel him once again, and we've got our Frost Nova method down pat. But Dante is nothing if not relentless. We've still got one final phase of this fight before we can claim the title of Molag Bal's champion. This is the final destination.
Your perseverance is admirable. Time to finish this, one way or another.
Dante's gonna be a chicken and stay safely on a floating platform above us. And we're gonna have to deal with his minions instead. Yet again. Like, come on, dude. Just face us like a real champ. The gargoyles, not too much trouble, but then we've gotta fight more of them. After that, it's the warlock phase. These guys are really strong, but we do discover a secret weapon, knockback. Yep, that guy just fell into the bottomless pit of hell. We won't be seeing him again. We even managed to do it a second time. Have a nice fall. But the final stage of the fight comes when Dante decides to duel us once again, and this time, he's got a dragon. We're gonna ignore the dragon and focus on the leader. After all, it's Dante we need to dethrone, not the lizard. The dragon's ice breath definitely makes the fight harder, but we've still got enough potions to keep our health up.
I will bludgeon you to death!
Nah, I don't think so, buddy. With his HP down to little more than a sliver, we take a safety potion, then go in for the kill.
Pain is nothing to me!
And that's gonna do it. Let's see what Molag Bal thinks of our victory.
Worthy fight and a worthy champion. Traverse my realm as you wish, champion. For someday it will be your home. For eternity.
Oh, huh. Well, that just made it sound like we're gonna be stuck down here forever after we die. Maybe this whole become champion of hell thing was a bad idea. Oh well, at least we got a cool sword.